Hello and welcome to the third match from Season 63 of the Dominion League. This match was against terracubist, and this game is the feature game because it highlights a strategy that I am very fond of in Dominion. That is charm pilots. Let's have a look at the kingdom now. We have a heap of draw in this kingdom. Carnival, Laboratory, Landing Party, Menagerie, and City Quarter all draw cards. You can even think of Crystal Ball as draw because it allows you to play more cards not from your hand but from the top of the deck instead. On the topic of Crystal Ball, it is the only trashing in the kingdom. We have plus actions in Landing Party, Coin of the Realm, and City Quarter. Finally, there's gain and plus buy the same card, the feature card for this game, Charm. Speaking of charm, it seems like charm is the focal point of this kingdom. It seems like there's nothing else to do here except play many charms and use either its buy or on gain effect. There are some fives that you might be interested in, labs and charms, other crystal balls, potentially carnivals maybe, depending on the deck you want. That is the direction I want to go because I like to use the charm to gain things. How do we get there? How do we build this deck that plays many charms? First step is to trash. I need the crystal ball for that. I need 5 coin for that. Double silver is an excellent candidate for getting to 5 on either your turn 3 or 4. We both open with a silver. However, I am going to pair my silver with a landing party instead of another silver. The 2 cards I think is sufficient to get me to 5. It will provide a little bit of draw, a little bit of extra cycling, and because my intention is to go after crystal balls in the early part of the game, I expect many of my hands to have only treasure, ideally crystal balls. That means the landing party will go back on top of the deck, and I'll be able to use it again. Maybe 2 or 3 times is my expectation in the early part of the game. My opponent opts for the double silver route, which is perfectly fine. Maybe even more likely than my landing party line. I had an option to get a second silver on my turn 3. Instead, I went for the guide because I felt like I didn't need the extra silver to get me to 5 once again. I was decently likely to hit 5 on my turn 4 after seeing just 3 copper in my turn 3. So I said the guide is enough, and I think the guide will do some good work for us in this game. The other option on my turn 3 was Coin of the Realm because I was considering picking up a carnival at some point early, again for cycling just to get to the crystal balls more quickly. I went with the guide instead. My opponent now on turn 3, they get their landing party. I play mine, get to the 5, get the crystal ball. They also get their crystal ball, as was likely from their double silver opening. I had the option there on turn 5 to not play the guide. If I only played treasures, the landing party would go on top of the deck. I think playing the guide is much better there. It has a decent chance of getting me to 5 once again, which it did. And also, if my next hand is bad, I'll just call the guide, get rid of it. And then top deck the landing party on the next shuffle. My deck is only treasure at this point. Play crystal ball for the first time, get to trash a copper, buy a second crystal ball. I want to trash more quickly, so does my opponent. They get a second crystal ball. This is not a good hand, so we call the guide. Call the guide, play the crystal ball, reveal copper, trash copper. Please note the interaction here with all 3 of these cards. Guide was called, not played. Therefore, the first card that I played on this turn was a treasure, the crystal ball. The crystal ball resolves. I revealed, saw copper, trash copper. Only after that is finished, then the landing party goes on top of the deck. So there's no conflict with crystal ball, top deck and landing party, and then you have to reveal that and play it. I do get to trash. And I also am lucky to get to 5 again. I thought about Lab, Carnival, and Charm at this point, but in the end I went for a third Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball is a slow trasher. 1. It only trashes 1 card at a time. 2. Crystal Ball will sometimes miss. In the case of my deck, Crystal Ball may reveal Silver, may reveal Guide, may reveal Landing Party sometimes. I will not trash these cards from my deck, so I will have to wait until I shuffle again to see those Crystal Balls and try once again to trash. It is slow, so I need a few more copies of them in order to build up this big charm deck in a reasonable time. You don't often get 3 trashers in your deck to trash the 10 starting cards. You usually only do that when there are curses or other junk cards coming into the deck that you want to get rid of. 3 trashers in the sense of 3 single card trashers like Crystal Ball is, not multiple card trashers. We get the third Crystal Ball. On to terracubist, they agree with me. They go for a third Crystal Ball themselves. Landing Party, I trash a couple off the top of the deck. Get to 4. I'm okay with 4 for now. Obviously, I prefer 5, but 4 will be another Landing Party for me. My opponent is unable to trash with their Crystal Ball here, but they get up to 7, so they pursue top deck 2 Crystal Balls. Obviously, they know what is in the rest of their deck. And on 5, this is an interesting decision. Will it be another Crystal Ball? No, it is a Carnival. This is a little bit of a hint, kind of deck they want to build. If I see Carnival, I'm expecting Coin of the Realm or City Quarter at some point in the future from them to give them the plus actions. And they may want multiple copies of Carnival as well. We get to 5 here with these Crystal Balls. That one reveals our guide. But now, look at what happened. The Landing Party is now on top of the deck, as was shown in the previous case. However, here I have a second Crystal Ball. That will reveal the Landing Party. I play it, obviously, because I get through the deck, I get more treasure. Here, I should have bought a Pursue to top deck the third Crystal Ball. I missed that line. Instead, I just went for a Charm. Passed it back to my opponent. I think it's the appropriate time now for the Charm. Seeing 7 there convinced me of that. Ideally, I would want 5 coin and a Charm. And if I'm seeing 7, then one of those silver, or the silver could have been a Charm, and then it would have been 5 plus Charm. And I could start gaining pairs of Crystal Balls and Charms, or maybe Labs with Charms, something like that. Crystal Ball trashes an estate for my opponent. They get a Menagerie there. I was surprised by that. I was expecting Coin of the Realm or another Landing Party. I think it's too early for Menagerie, but I always underestimate my Menagerie. Second Landing Party for me. Crystal Balls trash an estate and a copper. We get up to 5 again. I am going to continue buying Charms. Continue buying Charms. Even if I'm wrong and I don't get the 5 on Charm, I'll just use one of them as a silver and then gain with the other one. It's not that bad if I miscalculate on the Charm there, if I am unable to use the gain the first time around. Couple more cards trashed for my opponent. They pursue once again to top deck their Carnival this time. I'm curious to see where this 5 is going. And they decide to start on the Charm. So I have 2 of them, they have 1. Could call the guide here. Instead, I decide not to. The single Crystal Ball means that I'm guaranteed to top deck 2 Landing Parties. If I call the guide, I would see my other 2 Crystal Balls, and then I'd have the same problem where I'm able to trash 1 card from the top of the deck, but the second card on top of the deck will be a Landing Party. I rather have both of them on top of the deck here. For the extra draw, because what I'm going to do here now, I have the 5. One of the Charms gave me coin. The second charm will gain. I'm definitely going to gain another charm here. The only question is what will come alongside it. Definitely, because I know I have +4 cards coming from the landing parties. Should have been a charm, looking back at the game. Instead, I went for a 4th crystal ball and another lab. It means I wasn't confident in the draw in the deck, is why I made that play. My opponent's Menagerie actually triggers. See, I underestimate the card all the time. And they play their Carnival. Was not a good Carnival. Only gave them 2 cards. They get to 8. And, well, the charm is here, so they take the plus buy. 10 and 2 buys is 2 5s, probably. That's my expectation anyway. That's the kind of deck I want to build. But instead, they go for Menagerie, Pursue to clear off the top of their deck. And I'm eagerly awaiting to see what the 5 is. I was not expecting that. It is going to be a lab. We play both our landing parties, we find our lab, and now it's time for the crystal balls to start to do things. Here, I can use the charms for gain. Crystal ball reveals one of them. We gain with that one. Trash a copper, trash a copper. Last card is estate. That goes too. And we finally have a small sample of the kind of deck that I envisioned at the beginning of the game. We have 5 coin. We have 2 charms in play. They will both gain 5 costs. I'm motivated here to buy a single lab and 2 charms. And once you have the initial setup with 5 coin and the charm, things start to build up very quickly, as you'll see. My opponent plays a couple Menageries. They get through a lot of their deck. They do not find their charm, I believe. So they'll probably pursue here. They pursue top deck in the Carnival. They didn't see it in the top 4, but if it's not there, it's in the bottom 2 cards, obviously. And here they go for a City Quarter. Again, I found that strange. I thought it would be another charm, honestly, but they went for the City Quarter, obviously with ideas of supplementing the draw, getting the plus actions in the deck for the Carnival. That is another reason. Their landing party is out of play. Here, I have 3 charms in my hand. That is not what I want to see. I want to see money and charms. I don't want to use my charms for money. So we call the guide, get rid of that garbage hand, find my labs, and then trash out an estate, play the charms from the top of the deck, all for gain. Well, leaving 1 card in the deck, but these are all my charms. I have 4 of them now, and I'm going to gain with all 4 of them. Last turn was 2, but now I gain 1 charm. I buy 1 charm, and then I gain 4 labs with it. I should be set for draw for the rest of the game here. On my next turn, my hope is that I buy 1 lab and then gain the rest of the charms out. I have to be careful because piles are getting low. We'll see what my opponent does and then make a decision accordingly. Menagerie triggers again, and they draw through their deck. A little bit surprised. I was a little bit surprised to see this, but again, maybe I'm just underestimating their deck. They get 11 and 2 buys, and they go for a second charm. They only have the 1 charm and a 3rd charm. So at this point now you have to start counting. There are 3 labs, 3 crystal balls, 2 charms left. My opponent has a points lead. So if those piles empty, they will win. They had 1 charm just now, right? And they just bought 2 more. So they have 3 charms. They have 4 gains in total. So if I leave 5 cards in the supply, I should be fine. I shouldn't lose. All right. With that calculation in mind, we go ahead here. I thought about not playing the guide again here. I don't know how high a chance it was for me to find a lab there. I took the shot to try to find the lab. It didn't work out. if I didn't play the guide, I would get the landing parties on top of the deck and have a great turn next turn. But I tried to get the great turn now, didn't work out. Instead, I have to use one of these charms for money. Then I only have 2 gains from these 2 charms left in my hand here. So just double checking the situation here. I can gain some of these cards, but not all. So I gain 1 lab and the last 2 charms. There are 5 cards left in piles, 2 labs, 3 crystal balls. We counted our opponent has only 4 gains. We should be safe from our pile out here, 100%. And here are the labs. Hopefully we'll see all of the charms next turn. Bad draw for my opponent. They're drawn Carnival and the City Quarter comes after via the crystal balls. They get 7 here, and we'll see how many charms they put down. Here's 1, here's 2, and they opt to gain a landing party along with Sir Martin. I understand Sir Martin. Sir Martin gives them plus buy. That was the only other source of plus buy in the kingdom. And they buy a duchy, recognizing the threat of a pile out is near. However, the duchy is not going to save them. And they should know that from the amount of charms I have in my deck. Here come almost all of the labs. Crystal ball will get us through the rest of the deck. Here's the last lab. We can top deck that with some crystal ball organization. And the win is in hand. Do you see it? Do you see it? I initially thought because Dame Josephine was at the top of the deck, the knight's pile, sorry, that is the only reason I would be able to win here, but that is not true. There is another 5-cost pile in Carnival. I can just buy a Carnival and then gain the crystal balls, the labs, and the duchies to win. I don't need the extra points or the 5-cost from Dame Josephine. It would have just been tragic for my opponent if that was the case. All these charms will gain. We gain Josephine just to maximize points and then empty the piles with the charms. Another way to do that would have been if there was only 1 lab left, for example, you could gain 1 lab and then 7 duchies behind it, and that's quite a significant amount of points. That is the fancy part of charm pileouts to me. Many times you see province pileouts for wins, but it is much more rare to see a duchy pileout for the win. Thanks for watching.